Hello and welcome to a new episode of Spin to Knit. This is a series where we intentionally spin for a popular knitting pattern, and it follows us from picking the fibre, spinning that fibre, to knitting the finished item. So you get to see the whole thing every episode. If you are new here, welcome. Hope you'll stick around and click that subscribe button. If you've been here before, you know what to expect. So settle in and enjoy this episode. So it's time on Spin to Knit to tackle our first sweater spin. So the pattern that I've picked for this episode is the V-back tee. I'm going to put all the details of it here, and it'll also be in the description box down below where you can find details of anything I mention in these episodes. So the V-back tee is a really popular pattern. It's available in a fingering weight and a DK weight. So it's been designed to use various different sort of stash hand-dyed yarns, that sort of thing, and marl them together. But what I want to do with this spin is combine the fibres so it does all that marling for me, and I don't have to worry about that bit. I can just knit and knit and get the same effect. So yeah, I'm really excited to get started on this project. So let's go start prepping our fibre. So these are the blended tops that I've gone for this pattern. These are all from World of Wool, and I have 100 grams of each. So I'll put the names on the screen. And these do have a silk content, so I will be able to so that the finished t-shirt will be nice and cool and have a lot of drape to it. Now, the plan is that these will fade into each other in the tee, and obviously at the back you'll have that V-necked, that V-backed. So the first thing I'm going to do with all of these is I'm going to take out a quarter of each skein, which will be for the sleeves. So that's the first job. So these are my my quarters for my sleeves. So they can go to one side. We don't need to worry about those just yet. And then this is going to be the spin for the body. So these bumps here are half the 100 gram braids. So these are the 50 grams. And these are the other quarter from splitting it. So the plan is that these two colours in the middle I need to split again, and I'm just going to split those in the middle of the braid here, because they are going to be added to the quarters to do my fade. If I bring this round, you might be able to see it a bit better. So now I've got 50 grams of the first colour. I've got 25 and 12 grams of the first and the second. 50 grams of the second. I've got 25 grams, so 12.5 grams of each of the second and the third colour. The third colour, and 12 grams and 25 grams of the fourth colour, and then finally the fourth colour. And what this will do is, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spin this end to end, and when I get to these, as I'm spinning it, I'm going to hold them together like so. So I'll be spinning across the top, holding them together, and then so it will fade the colours into each other sort of almost perfectly. That is the plan. Whether it works or not is another thing entirely. And yeah, so I will spin all these end to end, and then I will chain ply them. So I'll have a 3-ply, and it'll keep the colours together. And also by doing that, it means I can keep some of the variation in these braided tops by doing them in a chain ply, which I think will look really pretty in the finished tee. So yeah, so these are all set ready to ply. When it comes to doing the sleeves, I will do the same thing, but obviously the sections are going to be smaller because I only have 25 grams to start with. So for a fine spin, it needs to be as fast as possible with very little uptake from the brake band. So our first colour is this light blue. And so I'm going to be spinning it really quite fine. We shall start and see what we get. Hang on. That's just a little bit too much uptake to start with. It'll probably end up going up to that, but to start with I like a little bit less just to get used to the fibre. So this is a brand new fibre to me, I've never spun this blend before. It's a little bit on the slippy side. And I don't want it to be too thick. I do find that starting a bobbin off is usually the trickiest, especially with the new fibre, and as soon as it gets a bit more weight on there, it's easier to play with. So you're going to hold the three together as such and let them ply. That's plied quite loosely. Don't know how well you can see that. Yeah, I'm going to try and get it a little bit finer. When I ply it, I can twist it a lot more than this is twisted, so we should be fine with that. So it's between 20 and 25. 20 is about sport weight, 14 DK. So we're getting there with it, definitely getting somewhere with it.
Looking up at a tree, I remember how it started. I was lost in a dream when the fire in my heart said an open rose. I've already found sunlight, the feeling grows, and anything sounds alright. I'm breaking loose, living in the moment in my own balloon. Your best kept secrets underground. Oh. Your hand on my chest, my heart beats for you. I keep my arms out and hold you like before. We can fly away from here. We can stay close, my dear. Swept up and away from all our fears. How are we supposed to know on our own? Together we can go slow. Why don't you leave it all to me? I know how hard it all can be. I'm here to hold your hand through this. Oh, oh. I'll be beside you all along. My love for you is so strong. We're right where we belong. Together we can go slow. He moved like a magnet, wearing holes in the carpet, counting steps to the back porch, same song from the screen door. He was a score on a mountain, waiting for a sign of rain. Card horse with his head down, devoted to a way of being, but he broke wide open like a bird in spring, with a tear
So here is the finished yarn all skeined up. It has actually been quite a while since I spun this. I've been procrastinating slightly because it didn't turn out 100% how I wanted it. It's not as fine as I would have liked. And I didn't get the yardage I wanted. So it's touch and go as to whether this t-shirt will turn out how I want it to, but we're going to give it a go. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to knit the DK version of this rather than the fingering weight, because thankfully this pattern comes in the 2 different weights. So because it's not quite a DK, it's more of a sport weight, but I think by knitting it at the DK, it gives us a sporting chance of actually getting it made. So yeah, we have all the gradients here, so it's the 4 different colours and then the bits where I've blended them. So this will be the fade down at the top, and then I've done exactly the same thing in the smaller skeins. I've just put them all together for the sleeves, so I've got one of each of those for the sleeves. The finished yarn is sort of between 14 and 20 wraps per inch. So a push, no, it's definitely more of a sport DK, so we're going to go with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cake this up and cast on. So I've caked it all up together. I can start from the middle. And it certainly doesn't feel like enough yarn for a DK weight sweater. Although technically it is a tee. But I don't have to worry about the sleeves. So we shall see. I'm only going to knit one of the smaller sizes. I'm not going to I'm going to knit one of the smaller sizes. I'm not going to knit a size I would normally knit for myself. It'll probably end up being a gift knit. But yeah, so just to cast on now. So yeah, I'm all cast on and I'm all set up, and I've got a beginning of round marker which is supposed to stay here, just on the edge, and then I have a V point marker here. So I'm fairly sure I haven't Mobiused it. Let's fingers crossed on that one. Yeah, it would look a lot more twisted by now if it was. So yeah, just gonna continue doing the ribbing and increasing at that V point, and then start on the yoke. I think the yarn's knitting up really nice. I'm very much enjoying the silkiness to it. I think that'll be really pretty. So yeah, I'll just keep on cracking on with this. I think it's quite pleasant at the moment. It'll be nicer when it gets big enough so that I'm not magic looping it, because the cord on these needles is really stiff. But yeah, time to get knitting. So that's the ribbing finished. You can't really see the V on the back, but it's there. It's there. So now I need to switch to the bigger needles, and it'll be increases in the yoke. See here? Nice knitting now. Although, to be fair, this was absolutely fine. The yarn is beautiful. The colour is absolutely glorious. It's beautiful blue. It's a bit uneven textured. That's hand spun. But it's got a really nice sort of finish to it, like sort of cottony and silky at the same time. Really pretty. I'm interested to see how this will, whether it will bloom or do anything when it's washed, because it's really pretty. So yes, into the big box of needles. Oh, dear. Oh, I've managed to do that. On to fives. Oh, I've got a charcoal file. Oh, that'll do me. I tend to think of a 5mm needle as sort of worsted Aran weight needle. So it'll be interesting to see what is technically sport weight on it. But this is meant to be a summer garment, so if it's a bit of a looser gauge and a more sort of open fabric, that's absolutely fine. I'm happy with that. So I've finished the increases, and I've just transitioned into the second colour, which is the mix of the blue and the green. You can't see it yet because I've barely even got a row in it yet. So now I just have to keep on going for the depth of the yoke before we split for the sleeves. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's quite an open gauge. You can probably see my hand through it there. But as I say, this is a summer top, so I think that's going to be really nice. So I'm now into the third colour, into the sort of more solid green. This is how the mixed colours turned out. It's weirdly striped, which is strange because I was holding the two fibres together, so really there shouldn't be any bits that are more predominantly green than the other. It should sort of blend, but yeah, it's weirdly striped. There's like two quite bold stripes. It's fine though, I'm quite happy with it. I've just split for the sleeves, so it's now, there's some shaping to do on this V back bit, but other than that it's just round and round now, so it's fairly easy. It's actually knitting up pretty quick, but then 5mm needles, so yeah. So just plug away at it for a bit longer. I'm not worried about the amount of yarn that I've got now because I've got this far, so I can just continue going until but yeah, I should have absolutely plenty now to get down the body. It doesn't need to be that long, but yeah, we shall see. This is growing so fast, it's lovely to knit. You can see the V here with the changing colours. And I'm now going into the second blend of colours down here. What I'm trying to figure out at the moment is where I stop doing this V. Now, the pattern says that you work this V for a certain length, and then you work in short rows to fill in the gap and then work it in the round. But what I don't want to happen is that I'm changing the V on a solid colour. I want to change it into the round on a mixed colour, and ideally I want to change it on where it mixes from the light purple to the dark purple. However, I don't think I've got enough space to do that. So I don't mind it being a bit longer, but the designer recommends that you don't continue this V section for more than a couple of inches longer than is recommended, because then there isn't enough short rows given to fill in the gap. Technically speaking, the angle of this V should not change, so it doesn't matter how long you make it, the short rows should always be able to fill it in. But that's something I'm going to have to sort of gauge when I get to that. So my plan is that I'm going to knit the same amount of knit here in the transition colour, again here, and then I'm going to knit the same amount here in the purple colour. Now, because this section was on the full yoke and then went into the body, there is going to be more of the purple colour than I used here, so I'm going to have to cut the yarn at some point, and same with this transition colour. But then as soon as I get to the end of the first purple colour, I will then start the short rows. And it's probably going to be longer than what the designer recommends, but we're just going to go with it and see how it works, because if I cut the purple colour in half, sort of states, I'm not going to have a point at the end of it, and I really do like that point. I think that looks really nice in the pattern when they transition it from the V to being in the round. So yeah, we're going to have to fudge it slightly, but fingers crossed it'll work. And I just wish I could actually get the colour to show. Might try sitting outside and knitting some to see if that helps with the colour, because yeah, this camera especially just doesn't like it. I'll take some footage on a different camera and see if that helps too. So I think I'm about at the point where I'm going to start doing the short rows. I might just do a couple more rows of the purple, but I think it's quite an even distance. So this is the front, and then it has the V section at the back. So in order to even it up, there's going to be some short rows so that the front becomes the same length as the back. And those short rows are going to be in the sort of mixed colour. Hiya, Cal. Between the dark and light purple. So on the back there won't be much of that dark and light purple, but you'll get the same amount on the front as there is of the others. So I think it'll work. And then there'll be a little bit of the dark purple and the hem at the bottom. Cats generally have no respect for hand knit things, even when they're knit in hand spun. Basically all I've done is just given Cal a blanket. So I think I've nearly finished doing the short rows. This is the back V part here, and I'm just in the middle of the row at the front, and basically this is the short row section, and I need it to come nearly to the same level. Ideally I would want the back to be a little bit longer. Puka's gonna eat the yarn. Oh, Pooks, what are you doing? So yeah, there have been a few decreases at the waist on the back side as well. Just because of the V, there was more stitches in the V, so they've been reduced slightly as well. So then the next thing I need to do, I'm going to do a couple more short rows. I've got Cal now as well. Hello, Cal. So the next thing to do is I'm going to do a couple more short rows. Then I'm going to go around and obviously pick up all the sort of short rows, the double stitches, pick up all the double stitches. And then I'm back just working in the round normally. So then I'm probably just going to do about an inch in this darker purple colour before I then switch to the smaller needles and do the rib. And then that's body done. And I don't think the sleeves are going to take long at all. So I may get this finished while there's still a bit of warm weather to wear it. It is time to start the sleeves. So I have two balls, which are the yarn that I created especially for the sleeves. So this has the same fade gradient as the sweater, but in a quicker repeat. So technically the sleeves should match the body. Hi, Puka. Oi, 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 oi. No claws. Now, these are obviously starting in the centre, and they are starting at the top here. So I'm going to have to take out some yarn until I get sort of halfway in the green section. So I'm going to take out the yarn until I get to approximately the section I feel like I need to be. It's in the mixed green-blue section before we get to the full green section. And then I'm going to pick up both sleeves. I've got two needles. I'm going to magic loop them. I'm going to pick up both sleeves, and then I know that I'm working the sleeves evenly. I'll work a bit on one and then a bit on the other, so concurrently. And yeah, that is the plan for the now. Pick up stitches across this gap and put the new beginning of row marker in here. I think the designer has you pick up 2 or 3 stitches, but because this is such a big gap, because it's quite silky yarn, I'm going to pick up more, probably quite a few more, as many as I can fit in, and then I'll just decrease them over the first few rows of the sleeve if I feel it needs it. Would much rather do that than just pick up 2 or 3 stitches and have like gaps that I've got to sew up later. And also, I have never worried about sleeves being too baggy. I only ever really worry about sleeves being too tight. So at this point, having more stitches is not something I need to be concerned about. Done a couple of rounds on one sleeve, but it's looking like it's not a very wide sleeve anyway, and the pattern actually only has you have a few row. The pattern is actually for a short sleeve, so it only gets you to do a short row and then go into cuff. So I don't think I'm really going to do many decreases. I think I'm just going to knit it straight, and I'll probably try it on when it gets a bit longer and see what I think. But yeah, no decreases for me. I'm just at the point where I've hit the last colour on one of the sleeves, so I'm attempting to make sure that they are the same length, which with cats around is quite difficult. So this is the sleeve where I've hit the last colour. Just about 7 inches. Okay. So I was slightly concerned that I was going to make this sleeve too long by putting in all of the mixed colour, because this bit of purple seems longer, if you can see them together. Cats really don't help with this sort of thing. Try and get no down. Get armpit to armpit. There we go. I've got armpit to armpit. Yeah, there's definitely about another inch to go on this sleeve, and then I'll do a few rounds of the purple and switch to ribbing needles. They are not long sleeves by any means, but they might even hit like elbow length, which I would be quite happy with. I'm not a shorty sleeve person. I'm about to run out of yarn. I've literally only got this little bit left. And I think I could have done with doing one more row of ribbing, but I can live without it. So I'm just going to bind off now. And then it's done. I'm really looking forward to getting this washed and blocked and seeing. I don't know if you can see, it's a bit wibbly. And I'm hoping that's going to block out. But actually when I tried it on, it's not really noticeable. It's just, I really like it. And yeah. Happy that it's finished. Nearly finished. So here we are at the end of another Spin to Knit episode, and it's time to reveal the finished V-back tee. And before you worry that it doesn't fit because I'm not wearing it, I just wanted to show you it off me first before I try it on, because I wanted you to see the lovely drape of this fabric. So this is the back, this is the V section, and I'm so pleased with it. It blocked out beautifully. It's really evened out the stitches, and whereas it's still hand dyed yarn, so there's still some little sort of blips in it and things like that. It's just absolutely beautiful. The drape, I don't know if you can see the way it just, the drape of it, and this was technically a sport weight yarn that I ended up with, and then so I knit the DK weight pattern with it. So it is at a loose gauge, but even so, it's really, really lovely. It isn't see-through now, I wouldn't say, although I will probably always wear something underneath it when I'm wearing it. Yeah, this is the V-back tee. It also looks, I don't know if you can see, it looks like the back is way longer than the front, and that's really just the way I'm holding it. I think when I was blocking it, there wasn't too much of a noticeable difference, and I think when I'm wearing it, it made it slightly lower at the back, but hopefully not. But anyway, shall we try it on? Okay, let's try it on. Ta-da! What do you think? I love it. Oh, I'm so pleased with it. I'll turn around and show you the V. So the V at the back. And the sleeves are just nice 3/4 length, not too big. The stripes are nice and even. There isn't a lot of positive ease. It's just a nice fit. It does dip a little bit at the back. I don't know how much of that you're going to be able to see. I'll take some sort of full length pictures in case you can't see a lot here and put those in over the top. But yeah, it's just so, so lovely. So, favourite things about this project. The spin was my favourite thing. It was really, really enjoyable fibre to spin. Had a bit of silk content in there, so it was really soft and beautiful on the hands. And it was really fun just doing a one continuous spin onto a bobbin that I was going to chain ply. And that spin, pretty much, there was a little bit of yarn management I had to do around the middle, because obviously this bit is wider than this bit. Yeah, so there was a little bit of yarn management that I had to do just in the middle, but basically meant that I could just knit this pattern without doing any of that marling and still get the same effect, which is one of the best things about spinning. Oh, spinning makes me so happy. So yeah, I'm absolutely chuffed. My least favourite thing is, I don't know how much of this you can see, but I think the purple at the bottom is a bit too dark. I wish I'd gone for a slightly different colour. But because when I started this project I was going with the braids, it was difficult to see how they would end up in their finished mulled yarn. I don't think it's bad, I still really love it. It's just, if I was going to do it again, I'd probably try and find a forced colour that blended slightly better. But yeah, I am surprised by how the marling the yarn with a chain ply created these stripes. So I was expecting it to sort of marl together and create a blended colour that was a similar colour. So you would probably end up with blocks, but they would sort of fade. But actually what's happened is that we've got these areas where it actually does look exactly like it would do if you were to fade yarns by yourself. So I couldn't be more thrilled with how the spin and the yarn has come out. The pattern is great. It's a really interesting construction because obviously it's top down and then you're working that V section and then you do the short rows to even everything up and then you can just knit and sleeves picked up as normal. It was a surprisingly speedy knit. I think from start of project to end of project, it's taken me about 6 months, this project, but I haven't been working on it all that time. There's been an awful lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, so I haven't been able to do as much crafting as I would like. So yeah, I'm I'm just so thrilled with it. And yeah, thrilled to be back with Spin to Knit. We will now be back at the end of every month. It's usually the last Thursday of every month. Although in October we have a couple of special things happening. One, I am doing a Spin to Knit special for the Stephen West MCAL shawl. This will be my 4th year of actually knitting the shawl and my 1st year spinning for it. And I'm doing that as a like a serial episode. So because the shawl is released in parts, so there will be parts coming out of that. So you should get a Spin to Knit episode every week. And for the last 2 weeks of October, I'm going to be vlogging and I'm going to be doing a Halloween spin along. So if you want to join in on that, we've got an Instagram hashtag and we have a Discord group, so you can join in our Discord group. But for now, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you soon. Goodbye, my friends.